she said. "You're just paranoid. I would never cheat." But her smartwatch lit up with a message from Babe while she was sleeping. I replied, "You're right. I'm just overthinking." Then quietly synced her watch to my phone. What I saw over the next 3 days made me invite her parents over and airdrop them everything over dinner. I'm Alex, a 36-year-old man who has always prided myself on being a rational thinker. My career as a software engineer demands logic and precision, skills I've honed over years of coding and problem solving. I thrive in a world of algorithms and data where everything has a clear answer. But when it comes to relationships, especially with Sarah, my girlfriend of 2 years, my analytical mind often spirals into a whirlwind of doubt and insecurity. Sarah is the kind of person who lights up a room. With her vibrant personality and infectious laughter, she has a unique ability to make everyone feel special. From the moment we met at a mutual friend's party, I was captivated by her charm and warmth. She has a way of drawing people in, and I fell for her hard. Our relationship blossomed quickly, filled with shared dreams and laughter. But as time passed, I began to sense a shift. Lately, something felt off. It started with small things, her late-night texts, the way she would sometimes glance at her phone with a smile that didn't include me. I tried to brush it off, convincing myself that I was just being paranoid. After all, Sarah had always been open and honest with me. But the nagging feeling in my gut wouldn't go away. I found myself replaying conversations in my head, analyzing every word, every gesture, searching for signs of something I feared might be true. As a rational thinker, I knew I should trust her, but my mind was a battlefield of conflicting emotions. I wanted to believe in our love, but the shadows of doubt loomed larger each day. I felt like I was losing her, and the thought terrified me. The more I tried to suppress my fears, the more they consumed me, leaving me in a state of constant anxiety. Little did I know, the truth was lurking just beneath the surface, waiting to be uncovered. "You're just paranoid. I would never cheat." Her words echoed in my mind, a hollow reassurance that did little to calm the storm brewing inside me. As I lay next to Sarah, the soft glow of her smartwatch illuminated the darkened room, revealing a message from Babe. My heart raced, pounding in my chest like a war drum. Was I really just overthinking? Or was there something more sinister lurking beneath the surface of our seemingly perfect relationship? I turned to her, forcing a smile that felt more like a mask than a genuine expression. "You're right. I'm just overthinking," I replied, my voice steady despite the chaos swirling within me. But as I spoke, I could feel the tension in the room thickening, wrapping around us like a suffocating blanket. The air was heavy with unspoken words, and I could sense the weight of our unresolved issues pressing down on both of us. In that moment, I was acutely aware of the distance between us, a chasm that had grown wider with each passing day. Sarah lay there, blissfully unaware of the turmoil raging in my mind, her face illuminated by the soft light of her watch. I wanted to reach out, to bridge the gap, but fear held me back. What if I was right? What if my instincts were warning me of something I didn't want to confront? The message from Babe felt like a betrayal, a crack in the foundation of trust we had built together. I tried to dismiss it, to convince myself that I was being irrational, but the nagging doubt wouldn't let go. I could feel my pulse quickening, each beat echoing my growing anxiety. The room felt smaller, the walls closing in as I wrestled with my thoughts. As I lay there, I knew I had a choice to make: confront her about my suspicions or bury my feelings and hope for the best. But deep down, I understood that ignoring the truth would only lead to more pain. The storm inside me raged on, and I realized that the battle for our relationship had only just begun. It was a quiet night, the kind where the world outside fades away, leaving only the soft hum of the air conditioner and the rhythmic sound of Sarah's breathing. The moonlight filtered through the curtains, casting delicate shadows that danced across the room, creating an almost serene atmosphere. Yet, beneath this calm exterior, a tempest brewed within me. I lay there, staring at the ceiling, trying to focus on the soothing sounds around me, but my mind was anything but peaceful. As I turned my head slightly, My gaze fell on her smartwatch resting on the bedside table. Suddenly, it lit up, illuminating the darkened room with a soft glow. The name Babe flashed across the screen, and my heart sank. An icy grip of dread wrapped around my chest. Who was this Babe? Why was she receiving messages in the middle of the night? My mind raced with questions, each one more troubling than the last. I felt a knot tighten in my stomach, a mix of anxiety and determination. The shadows in the room seemed to grow darker, reflecting the turmoil within me. I wanted to dismiss it, to tell myself that I was being irrational, but the evidence was right in front of me. The name Babe felt like a dagger, piercing through the facade of our relationship. I glanced at Sarah, her face serene in sleep, completely unaware of the storm brewing just a few feet away. How could she be so peaceful while I was drowning in doubt? I wanted to reach out, to shake her awake and demand answers, but fear held me back. What if I was wrong? What if I was just a paranoid fool? But the more I thought about it, the more I realized that I couldn't ignore the signs. The late-night texts, the secretive smiles, everything began to fit into a puzzle I never wanted to solve. I felt trapped in a web of uncertainty, and the only way out was to confront the truth, no matter how painful it might be. The night stretched on, and I knew that the dawn would bring with it a reckoning I wasn't prepared for. I knew I had to find out the truth. The next 3 days were a blur of tension and unease, each moment stretching out like an eternity. I felt like I was living in a fog, unable to focus on anything other than the gnawing suspicion that had taken root in my mind. The decision to quietly sync her smartwatch to my phone felt both invasive and necessary, a desperate measure to uncover what lay hidden beneath the surface of our relationship. Each time I received a notification, my heart would race, a mix of dread and anticipation coursing through me. I braced myself for the worst, and what I discovered was a series of messages that painted a picture I never wanted to see. The words on the screen were flirtatious, filled with inside jokes and intimate details that made my skin crawl. I felt like I was living in a nightmare, each notification a dagger to my heart, twisting deeper with every revelation. I couldn't believe what I was reading. The person I thought I knew, the woman I loved, was slipping away, replaced by a stranger who was sharing secrets and laughter with someone else. The messages were laced with affection, and I could almost hear the laughter echoing in my mind, a sound that now felt like a betrayal. I felt hollow, as if the very foundation of my world was crumbling beneath me. As I pieced together the fragments of her digital life, I realized I was standing at a crossroads. Should I confront her, risking everything we had built together, or should I gather evidence and confront her parents? The weight of my decision felt unbearable, each option fraught with potential consequences. I could feel the tension tightening around me, a noose of uncertainty that threatened to choke me. Ultimately, I chose the latter, believing that the truth needed to be exposed, no matter the cost. I felt a sense of grim determination wash over me. If Sarah was betraying me, her parents deserved to know. I steeled myself for the confrontation ahead, knowing that the path I had chosen would lead to a reckoning that could change everything. The truth was a double-edged sword, and I was ready to wield it, no matter the pain it might bring. Inviting her parents over for dinner felt like setting a trap, a calculated risk that weighed heavily on my conscience. I spent the day preparing, trying to act normal while my heart raced with anticipation. I meticulously arranged the table, cooked a meal I hoped would impress, and even put on a smile that felt more like a mask than a genuine expression. Each tick of the clock felt like a countdown to an inevitable confrontation, and I could hardly focus on anything else. As her parents arrived, laughter and casual conversation filled the air, but I could feel the tension building inside me like a pressure cooker ready to explode. I watched Sarah interact with her parents, her laughter ringing hollow in my ears. She seemed so carefree, so oblivious to the storm brewing just beneath the surface. I wanted to join in, to share in the lightheartedness, but the weight of my secret felt like a leaden anchor dragging me down. Dinner progressed, and I could see the warmth in her parents' eyes as they watched their daughter. They were proud of her, and I felt a pang of guilt for what I was about to do. But the truth was a fire that needed to be unleashed, and I was the one holding the match. As the conversation flowed, I waited for the perfect moment, my heart pounding in my chest. When the moment was right, I took a deep breath and airdropped everything to her parents: messages, photos, and conversations that revealed a side of Sarah I never knew existed. The room fell silent. The laughter abruptly cut off as the notifications chimed on their devices. I could feel the tension crackling in the air, a palpable energy that shifted the atmosphere from lighthearted to heavy with dread. Her parents' faces shifted from confusion to shock, and I could see the realization dawning on them. Their expressions morphed from curiosity to disbelief, and I could almost hear the gears turning in their minds as they processed the betrayal. I watched as they scrolled through the messages, their eyes widening with each revelation. The silence was deafening, and I felt as if the walls were closing in around me. Sarah's laughter faded, replaced by a look of horror as she realized what was happening. "What is this?" she demanded, her voice trembling. I could see the betrayal reflected in her eyes, and for a moment, I felt a flicker of sympathy. But I quickly reminded myself of the pain I had endured, the sleepless nights filled with doubt and anxiety. As her parents confronted her, the room erupted into chaos. Accusations flew, and emotions ran high. I stood there, a silent witness to the unraveling of everything I thought I knew. The truth had been laid bare, and there was no turning back. In that moment, I realized that the path I had chosen was fraught with pain, but it was also a necessary step toward reclaiming my own truth. Sarah's reaction was immediate and explosive. She looked at me, her eyes wide with disbelief and anger, as if I had just struck her. "How could you do this?" she shouted, her voice trembling with a mix of rage and hurt. I felt a tumultuous wave of emotions crash over me: guilt, vindication, and a deep sense of sorrow. I had exposed the truth, but at what cost? The weight of my decision pressed heavily on my chest, and I could feel the air in the room grow thick with tension. Her parents were visibly upset, their faces pale as they processed the betrayal. I could see the hurt in their eyes, a mixture of confusion and disappointment. They had welcomed me into their home, and now I was the one tearing their family apart. The dinner that was supposed to be a joyful gathering had transformed into a battlefield of emotions, each person grappling with their own feelings of betrayal and disbelief. Sarah tried to defend herself, her voice rising in desperation. "You invaded my privacy. You had no right to do this," she exclaimed, her words laced with anger. But the evidence was irrefutable, and I could see her parents struggling to reconcile their love for her with the reality of her actions. They exchanged glances, their expressions shifting from shock to concern, and I could sense the turmoil within them. "Sarah, we need to talk about this," her mother finally said, her voice trembling. "This isn't just about you anymore." The gravity of the situation hung in the air, and I could feel the tension crackling like static electricity. I stood there, a silent observer to the unraveling of everything I thought I knew. As the conversation escalated, Sarah's defenses crumbled. She began to cry, her anger giving way to vulnerability. "I didn't mean for it to happen," she sobbed, her voice breaking. "I was just trying to find someone who understood me." The admission hung in the air, heavy with regret. I felt a pang of sympathy, but it was quickly overshadowed by the pain of betrayal. Her parents, torn between their love for their daughter and the reality of her actions, struggled to find the right words. "We raised you better than this," her father said, his voice thick with disappointment. "You need to take responsibility for your actions." In that moment, I realized that the truth had a way of surfacing, no matter how deep you bury it. The fallout from my decision was far-reaching, affecting not just Sarah and me, but her entire family. As the evening wore on, I felt the weight of my choice settle heavily on my shoulders. I had sought the truth, but now I was left to grapple with the consequences, unsure of what the future held for any of us. The path ahead was uncertain, but one thing was clear: nothing would ever be the same again. In that moment, I realized that trust is fragile, a delicate thread that can snap with the slightest strain. Once broken, it can never be fully restored. As Sarah's parents processed the betrayal, their expressions a mix of shock and disappointment, I was left to grapple with my own feelings of hurt and betrayal. The weight of my actions hung heavily in the air, and I felt a profound sense of loss for the relationship I thought I had. What would happen next? Would Sarah fight for our relationship, or would she choose to walk away, leaving me to pick up the pieces of my shattered heart? The uncertainty gnawed at me, a relentless ache that refused to subside. I had sought the truth, believing it would set us free, but now I was left questioning whether that truth would ultimately bind us together or tear us apart. As I sat there, surrounded by the fallout of my actions, I knew that this was just the beginning of a long and painful journey. The road ahead was uncertain, filled with potential pitfalls and heartache. I could feel the tension in the room, a palpable energy that hinted at the difficult conversations yet to come. The truth had a way of surfacing, no matter how deep you bury it, and now it was out in the open, raw and unfiltered. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for whatever lay ahead. I was ready to face the consequences of my choices, armed with the truth that had been both a weapon and a shield. I understood that healing would take time, and that forgiveness might never come. But I also knew that I had to confront the reality of our situation, no matter how painful it might be. As I looked at Sarah, her face streaked with tears, I felt a flicker of hope amidst the despair. Perhaps this was an opportunity for growth, a chance to rebuild from the ashes of our broken trust. But I also understood that it would require honesty, vulnerability, and a willingness to confront the demons that had driven us apart. The journey ahead would be fraught with challenges, but I was determined to navigate it, no matter where it led.